In the cold corners of space far from Earth, there was a moon called Kor Vath. It wasn't pretty, it was gray, loud, and full of smoke. Big machines worked all day. Aliens of many kinds lived there. Some tall, some short, some with 4 arms or no eyes at all. This moon was known for one thing: trade. Not just trade of goods, but of people too. Slavery was still common in many parts of the galaxy. And on Kor Vath, it was big business. Every morning, traders brought in new assets, people who had been caught, bought, or stolen from their homes. They were sold like tools, like machines. Some could fight, some could build, some could speak to computers or fix alien tech. If you had a skill, you were worth more. But not everyone had something to offer. One cold morning, a small alien girl was dragged into the market. She looked tired. Her skin was pale lavender. Her hair was silver and messy. Strange blue lines glowed faintly on her arms and face, like stars in the dark. She didn't look strong. She didn't look fast. She didn't speak. She just stared at the ground. A trader shouted, "Lot 347, female class C, no known skills, broken spirit, sold as is." People walked by. Some looked. Most didn't care. "Worthless," said one. "Buyer." "No voice. No strength." "Just bones and silence," said another. They passed her by. Later that day, she was moved to a quieter part of the market, the junkyard auction. That's where they put things that didn't sell, things that no one wanted. There, she sat on the floor, back against a broken robot. The wind was sharp. The sky was orange with smoke. She didn't move. Her name was Zira. She remembered once, having a home, a place with soft lights and warm voices. Her people could talk without speaking. They could feel machines like friends. But now, she was alone, the last of her kind. She had been taken, beaten, made to forget who she was, forced to obey. When she couldn't, they broke her mind instead. Now, she didn't want to talk, didn't want to think, just wanted to be quiet. And so, she was left, alone, until someone stopped. He was different. Tall brown hair, tired eyes, wore a jacket full of patches and tools. He looked around, then at her. "You're up for sale?" he asked. No one answered. Zira didn't move. The trader behind the desk shrugged. "She's defective. Doesn't work. Won't talk. Won't follow orders," the man frowned. "How much?" The trader laughed. "You serious? You can have her for scrap, 10 credits. The man blinked, then slowly took out a small chip, tapped it on the scanner, transaction done. Shira was his. The trader shook his head. "Waste of money, human. That thing won't do anything for you." The man smiled, crouched down, and looked at Zira. "Hey," he said gently. "I'm Leo. Don't worry. We're going somewhere better." She didn't look at him, didn't move, didn't care. But deep inside, something stirred. Someone had spoken kindly to her. For the first time in years, the alien girl was traded as useless junk, until a human showed her kindness. Part 2. The AI Human Trader. 800 words, third-person, simple English. Leo Marlowe was not a rich man. He wasn't a hero either. At least not in the way the stories told it. But he was kind when it mattered, and that made all the difference. He had grown up on the edge of human space, on a small colony orbiting a dying sun. His parents were engineers, who taught him how to fix things. Old ships, broken machines, even broken people sometimes. He traveled from world to world, buying and selling scrap, fixing what he could, and helping where he saw need. That's why he bought Zira. Not because he knew what she could do, not because he thought she'd be useful, just because she looked like someone who needed help. She sat quietly in the back of his ship, the Starling, wrapped in a thick blanket Leo had pulled from a storage locker. The ship wasn't fancy. It was patched together from parts found on forgotten battlefields and junkyards. But it flew. And it was warm. Leo didn't push her, didn't ask questions, didn't demand she speak or move. He just gave her space, some food, though she didn't eat much, and let her rest. For 2 days, she barely moved. On the third day, Leo was working under the engine panel when he heard a soft sound behind him. A footstep. Quiet, unsure. He turned his head slowly. Shira stood at the doorway watching him. Her eyes were wide, curious. "You're awake," Leo said with a smile. "Good. You hungry?" She didn't answer, just stared. "That's okay," he said, going back to work. "You'll talk when you're ready." He handed her a small cup of warm soup from the kitchen counter. She took it without looking at him, sat down near the window. Outside, stars passed by slowly. She watched them like they were something she hadn't seen in a long time. Leo talked while he worked. He told her about the places he'd been, about planets covered in water, moons made of crystal, and cities built inside asteroids. He told jokes, most of which weren't funny but made her feel less alone. She didn't laugh. Not yet. But for the first time in years, she wasn't afraid. By the end of the week, she started eating more. By the second week, she began exploring the ship. She would touch things, walls, panels, tools, and sometimes lights flickered. Sometimes old machines made soft humming sounds when she walked by. Leo noticed but didn't say anything. He figured if she wanted to show him something, she would. Then one night, something changed. Leo was sleeping in his cabin when he felt a sudden chill. He opened his eyes and saw Zira standing in the doorway, shaking. He sat up fast. "Hey, what's wrong?" She didn't speak, just pointed to the hallway. Leo got up and followed her. They reached the main room. Zira stopped in front of a broken console, a piece of alien tech he had picked up months ago. It had been dead since the day he found it, but now it was glowing. Faintly. Leo blinked. "Did you do that?" Zira didn't answer. She just stared at the screen, eyes wide. Then, very slowly, she placed her hand on the panel. The machine lit, up fully. Lines of alien code scrolled across the screen. Lights blinked. Fans hummed to life. Leo stared. Whoa. He ran over and tapped a few keys. The system booted up like new. "This thing hasn't worked in months," he whispered. "How did you—" Zira stepped back quickly, like she was scared of what she had done. Leo raised his hands. "It's okay. You didn't break anything. You fixed it." Still, she didn't speak. But for the first time since he met her, she looked surprised, like she remembered something about herself. Leo smiled gently. "Okay, we'll take it slow. No rush." From that night on, things began to change. Shira became more curious, more alive. She still didn't talk, but she watched Leo more closely. Watched how he fixed things, how he talked to machines, how he laughed at himself when something went wrong. And slowly, she started to trust him. One morning, as Leo cooked breakfast, he heard a voice. Not out loud, but in his mind. It was soft, like wind through leaves. "Why?" Leo froze. He looked up. Shira was sitting at the table, staring at her hands. He swallowed. "Why what?" She closed her eyes. "Why did you buy me?" Leo smiled. He sat down across from her. "Because nobody should be treated like trash," he said simply. "Even if they feel broken doesn't mean they are." Zira looked at him then. Really looked. Something deep inside her stirred again. Hope. Maybe, just maybe. Shira had spoken. Not with her mouth, not out loud. But in Leo's mind, her voice had touched him like a whisper made of light. "Why did you buy me?" It was the first time she had reached out in years, the first time she had used her gift since they took everything from her. Leo didn't rush her. He just smiled and answered honestly. "Because nobody should be treated like trash," he said again. "Even if they feel broken. Doesn't mean they are." Zira looked at him for a long time. Her violet eyes were full of something deep, something that hadn't moved in a very long while. She didn't speak again that day, or the next. But something had changed. Over the next few weeks, Zira started to explore more. Not just the ship, but herself. She would walk through the starling, touching walls, panels, even old tools, and sometimes things responded. Lights blinked, engines hummed, old machines woke up like they remembered her touch. Leo watched carefully. He didn't push, but he began to understand. She wasn't broken. She was asleep. One night while flying, through a quiet part of space, Leo sat at the control panel, fixing a broken navigation system. Sierra stood behind him watching. "You ever fix a ship before?" he asked casually. She didn't answer, but then, slowly, she stepped forward. She placed her hand on the panel. A soft blue glow spread across the screen. Numbers and symbols scrolled, fast. The system rebooted itself. Leo blinked. "Okay, that was cool." He looked at her. "You can talk to machines, huh?" She didn't say anything, but her eyes met his. Just for a second. That was enough. Days passed. Then one morning, Leo woke up to find a note on the kitchen table. It was short, written in shaky handwriting. "Thank you." Leo stared at it, then smiled so wide it hurt. She was trying. From that day on, Sierra began to open up. She still didn't talk much out loud, but she started using the neural translator Leo had found in storage. It helped her send thoughts into his mind. At first, only small things. "I'm cold. This food is good. What is this place?" Then bigger things. They made me forget how to speak. I used to hear voices in my head, not like yours, like music, like stars. I think I was not meant to be silent. Leo listened. Every word. And slowly he told her about Earth, about humans, about stories, songs, and laughter, about how people could be cruel, but also kind, brave, stupid, amazing. She liked the stories best, especially the ones where someone small changed. Everything. One evening they sat by the window watching a planet pass below them. It was covered in oceans and green lands. Sierra pointed at it. "Can we land there?" Leo raised an eyebrow. "Just because you feel like it?" She nodded. He laughed. "Well, why not? We've got time." Hours later, they landed on the planet. Trees were tall. Birds sang strange songs. The air smelled clean. They walked together side by side. Shira touched the bark of a tree, closed her eyes. Leo saw her smile for the first time, not just with her lips, with her whole self. Back on the ship, she picked up a book. An old Earth storybook Leo had found in a junk market. It had pictures of knights, dragons, and heroes who rose from nothing. She flipped through it, then stopped at a page. "Like me?" she whispered in his mind. Leo looked over her shoulder. The picture showed a girl with glowing eyes standing beside a broken castle. He nodded. "Yeah, just like you." She closed the book gently. Then, for the first time she spoke out loud, her voice was quiet, shaky like a bird learning to fly. "Hello." Leo turned to her. She looked scared, but proud. He smiled. "Hello, Zira." The alien girl was traded as useless junk. Until a human showed her kindness. Part 4. The Spark Within. 800 words. Third person. Simple English. Shira didn't know how long they had been flying. Time felt different now, not like before, when every day was pain, silence, and fear. Now, each sunrise on the ship felt warm. Each night brought dreams that didn't scare her. She was learning. Slowly. Carefully. Leo didn't push her. He just gave her space, time, and kindness. And slowly, she started to remember who she was. Not just what others had made her become, but who she had been before all of it. She remembered soft lights, warm voices, a language not spoken with mouths, but with thoughts and feelings. Her people had lived in peace. They could speak to machines like friends. They didn't just use them, they understood them, listened to them, cared for them. That's why the traders had wanted her. But when she wouldn't obey, they tried to break her mind instead. Now, under Leo's care, the broken parts were healing. One morning, Sira stood in front of a mirror in the small bathroom of the Starling. She looked at herself. Pale lavender skin, silver hair, faint glowing lines across her arms. She touched her face gently. For the first time, she didn't look away. Instead, she closed her eyes and listened. Not to sounds, to thoughts, to memories. She saw flashes of her home world, a place covered in light and crystal towers. She saw her family smiling, their eyes full of love. She heard their voices. Soft, familiar, gone, but not forgotten. Later that day, Leo found her sitting by the window, staring at the stars. He sat beside her. "You okay?" he asked gently. She nodded. Then, after a pause, she reached out, not with words, but with her mind. "I remember more now." Leo smiled. "Yeah?" She looked at him. "My people could talk to machines, not like you do, with tools and wires. We felt them. Like hearts, like friends." Leo leaned back. "That's amazing." She frowned slightly. "But I don't know if I can still do it." Leo thought for a moment. Then he got up and walked to a storage locker. He pulled out a small box and brought it back. Inside was a broken drone. Small, round, with dented wings and dark eyes. "It's been dead since I found it," Leo said. "You want to try?" Zira stared at it. Then slowly she reached out. She placed her hand on the drone's surface. At first nothing happened. Leo waited quietly. Then a soft light blinked in the drone's eye. It hummed. Then, slowly, it floated. Off the table, Leo's eyes went wide. No way. The drone spun in the air, then turned toward Zira like it recognized her. She smiled. A real smile. Leo laughed. "Well, I'll be..." Zira took her hand away. The drone landed gently on the table. She looked at Leo. "I think I'm not broken after all." Leo grinned. "Nope, you were just waiting to wake up." From that day on, Zira began to explore more. She would touch old panels on the ship, broken lights, even the engine. And sometimes, things responded. Not always right away, but they responded. She was healing. And with her, so were the things around her. Leo watched closely. He wasn't just amazed. He was proud and protective. Because he knew what would happen if the wrong people found out what Zira could do. Some would want to study her. Others would want to control her. And some, they would want to use her gift for war, so he kept her safe, and he taught her about Earth, about humans, about stories of people who rose from nothing and changed the world. She loved those stories most, especially the ones where someone small did something big. One night, while flying through quiet space, Leo sat working on an old alien console he had picked up from a junkyard. Shira walked in and watched him struggle. After a minute, she stepped forward and placed her hand on the panel. The screen lit up. Alien symbols scrolled down. Leo stared. "You're getting good at this," he said. She looked at him, then very softly she spoke out loud. "I want to know more." Leo raised an eyebrow. "More about what?" She pointed at the symbols. "All of it." Leo smiled. "Well then," he said, handing her the tool in his hand. "Let's start here." Zira was changing. She still didn't speak much out loud, but her thoughts were growing stronger, faster, more sure, and so were her powers. It started small. One day, Leo was working on an old alien AI core he had bought from a trader on a dusty moon. The device looked like a crystal ball wrapped in metal. It was supposed to be smart, like a robot brain, but it had been broken for years. Leo tried everything. He cleaned it, fixed wires, uploaded new code. Nothing worked. He sighed and leaned back in his chair. "Worthless junk," he muttered. Then Zira walked in. She paused at the door. Her eyes locked onto the core. Leo looked up. Hey, just messing with this old thing, don't think it's gonna work? Zira didn't answer. She just stepped closer. Slowly she reached out and touched the core. A soft light turned on. Leo blinked. Did you do that? Zira pulled her hand back fast like she was scared. The core pulsed again. Then a voice came out, soft and broken, like waking from a long sleep. System booting. Leo stared. No way. He tapped a few keys. The screen lit up. Lines of alien code scrolled down. The AI was coming back to life. Leo turned to Zira, eyes wide. You fixed it. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said yes. From that day on, things changed quickly. Shira began touching more machines. Old tools, broken lights, even parts of the Starling that hadn't worked in months, and they came alive. Leo watched in awe. She really can talk to machines, he whispered one night, sitting alone in the cockpit. He looked at the logs. Every time Zira touched something broken, it started working again. Not just fixed, better, like it remembered how to live. He realized something big. She wasn't just fixing tech, she was awakening it. Word spread quietly. They stopped at a small space station called Drift 9, where traders, pilots, and scientists met to buy and sell strange things. Leo needed parts. Zira stayed close behind him, quiet as always. But people noticed her, especially when a broken mining drone near the entrance suddenly powered up while she walked by. A scientist from a research colony approached them. You're the ones with the girl who fixes machines just by touching them, he asked. Leo raised an eyebrow. Where'd you hear that? The man smiled. People talk. Leo didn't like it. He knew what could happen if the wrong people heard about Zira. Still, curiosity got the better of him. What do you want? I work with ancient tech, the man said. There are ruins all over the galaxy, machines we can't understand, let alone turn on. If your friend can bring them back. Leo glanced at Zira. She was watching quietly. He shook his head. Not for sale. But the idea stuck. Later that night, Leo showed Zira a data chip with images of old alien ruins. Towers covered in vines. Ships buried under sand. Cities lost in time. He pointed at one picture. This place has been dead for centuries, he said. Nobody can get inside, nobody can read the language, but maybe you can. Zira looked at the image. Her eyes lit up. She placed her hand on the screen. A second later, the text shifted. Changed. Leo gasped. You translated it. She nodded. Slowly, he grinned. Okay, we've got work to do. Over the next few weeks, they traveled to forgotten places across the stars. An old alien ship hidden inside an asteroid. A broken space gate orbiting a frozen planet. A temple built into the side of a volcano. Everywhere they went, Zira touched. The walls, the panels, the doors, and the past woke up. She found secrets no one had seen in thousands of years. Alien maps. Lost knowledge. Forgotten warnings. Leo recorded everything. He didn't know what any of it meant yet. But he knew one thing. Shira wasn't just a girl. She was a key. A living bridge between the past and the present. Between silence and song. Between death and life. Back, on the Starling, Leo sat at the table looking at the data they had collected. Shira stood beside him watching. He looked up. You're not useless, you know. She tilted her head. Leo smiled. You're not broken, you're not trash, you're something rare, something special. He paused. And I'm glad I found you. Zira closed her eyes. Then for the first time she spoke out loud. Not in his mind. Not through writing. Out. Loud. Softly. I'm glad too. Leo smiled. And for the first time in a long time, Zira smiled with him. Word about Zira spread faster than Leo had hoped. At first it was just whispers in small spaceports and quiet trading hubs. A girl who could wake up dead machines. A human who protected her like family. But soon bigger ears began to listen, and not all of them were kind. They were on a floating station called Harbor Ring 7, a place where traders, scientists, and explorers came to share stories and sell goods. It was peaceful, quiet, safe, until the bounty hunters arrived. Leo saw them first. 3 tall figures in dark armor, scanning the crowd with cold eyes. They carried weapons that didn't look for fights, but made sure they won them. He grabbed Zira's hand without a word and pulled her into a side passage. "Something wrong?" she asked in his mind. "Maybe," he thought back. "We need to go." They moved fast through the narrow halls of the station. Leo kept checking over his shoulder. Zira stayed close. Then the voice came over the station's loudspeakers. "Attention! By order of the Galactic Trade Accord, we are authorized to detain an alien subject known as Zira for unauthorized use of restricted technology." Leo cursed under his breath. "They think you're dangerous," Zira said quietly. "They don't even know you," Leo replied. He led her to the docking bay. The Starling was still there, waiting. But so were 2 more armored guards, standing near the ramp. No escape that way. Leo looked around. He spotted a small maintenance hatch nearby. It led to the outer hull of the station. "We'll have to walk," he said. Shira blinked. "Walk?" He grinned. "You ever been outside on a space station before?" She shook her head. "Hold on to me," he said. Minutes later, they were outside, suits sealed, tethers tight. The stars shone above them like frozen fire. The station hummed beneath their boots. Far below, the planet glowed blue and green. Leo guided Zira along the outer wall, moving slowly but surely toward a hidden service ladder that would take them to another part of the station. Halfway there, the comms crackled. "Marlowe!" a voice growled. "Step away from the asset, you know the rules." Leo didn't stop. "She's not property," he said clearly. "She's a person, and she's under my protection." A pause, then louder this time. "You can't protect her forever, human." Leo looked at Zira. She was scared, but she wasn't crying. She was watching him, believing in him. He tapped his comm again. "This message is going out to all channels," he said. "If you can hear me, anybody listening, this isn't just about me or Zira. This is about what kind of galaxy we want to live in." He paused. "A girl who can talk to machines? That's rare. That's special. But more than that, she's someone who deserves to choose her own life, not be sold, not be used, not be afraid." His voice grew stronger. "And I'm telling every ship, every colony, every human ear out there, she's not alone anymore." The broadcast cut off. Silence. Then, across the comms, voices started coming in. "This is CSS Horizon. We hear you. Marlowe, tell us where you need help. I remember being treated like trash once, count me in. Human here. If you hurt that girl, you've got a problem with me too." More voices followed. Pilots, engineers, teachers, colonists, humans, standing together for one girl. Back inside the station, the bounty hunters hesitated. Their leader looked at his scanner. "There's movement," one of them muttered. "Other ships coming this way," he frowned. "We can't fight half the sector." He looked toward the hatch where Leo and Zira had disappeared. "Let them go," he finally said. Hours later, the Starling jumped into hyperspace. Leo sat in the pilot's seat, tired but smiling. Shira sat beside him. "You did something big today," she said in his mind. "So did you," he replied. "You trusted me." She nodded. He looked at her. "You're not alone anymore, Zira, never again." She smiled, not just with her lips, with her whole self. Years passed. Not many, but enough for the galaxy to remember one name. Shira, and the human who stood by her side. Leo Marlowe. What started as a quiet act of kindness had become something much bigger. Shira was no longer hidden in shadows. No longer seen as broken or worthless, she was a symbol. a living reminder that even the most forgotten soul could shine again. With Leo's help, she built something new, a place called Sanctuary. It wasn't just a home, it was a refuge, a safe world hidden among the stars where those who had been cast aside could find peace. Escaped slaves, lost children, injured pilots, broken machines. All were welcome. Shira walked through its halls like a whisper of light. She touched walls, repaired tools, healed minds. Her gift grew stronger every day, not because she wanted power, but because she wanted to help. She taught others how to listen, to machines, to each other, and to themselves. And Sanctuary grew. Humans came first, then aliens, some curious, some grateful, some looking for hope. They built homes together, schools, farms, libraries filled with stories from across the stars, and in the center of it all stood Zira and Leo, not rulers, not warriors, friends, protectors, family. One evening they stood on a hill overlooking the valley. Lights from the colony sparkled below. Children played in the fields. Ships landed and took off in the distance. Leo sat on a rock, eating an old earth snack he had found in storage. "Feels real," he said quietly. Shira looked at him. "Feels like home," he smiled. "Yeah, it does." She sat beside him. For a long time they just watched the sky. Then she spoke, out loud. "You found me when I was nothing." Leo shook his head. "No. You were never nothing." She looked down. "I didn't know how to be me anymore." He nodded. "But you remembered, and now you're helping others do the same." She thought about that. "I used to think I was alone," she said softly. "That I was the last of my kind." Leo looked at her. "You're not alone now." She smiled. "No," she whispered. "I'm not." News of Sanctuary spread. At first, some governments were unsure. They asked questions, wanted control, but then they saw what was happening. Aliens and humans working side by side. Old tech coming back to life. Forgotten people finding purpose. They couldn't argue with peace. So, instead of stopping it, they helped. More ships arrived. More supplies, more teachers, more builders. Even former bounty hunters showed up, not to take Zira, but to ask if they could stay. She welcomed them all, even those who once hunted her, because she believed in change. In healing, in second chances, back. On Vath, the moon where it all began, things were changing too. Slavery still existed, but not as openly. Whispers of Sanctuary gave others hope. Some escaped, some rebelled. Some simply refused to be silent. And in the market where Zira had once sat, cold and forgotten, a new sign now hung. "You are not trash. You are not broken. You are not alone." People read it and wept. Some believed. Some began to dream, just like she had. Back at Sanctuary, Zira stood in the main hall. Children gathered around her. Humans, aliens, all different, all listening. She held up a small crystal, a piece of old tech she had found in space. She touched it. The lights inside it blinked. Then, slowly, it began to glow. A soft voice came from it, ancient and kind. "Welcome. You are home." The children cheered. Shira smiled. Leo stood behind her, watching, proud, happy, free. And somewhere far away, in the quiet corners of space, someone heard the message and felt hope, just like she once had.